Good afternoon, everyone. We live in a time when we're more connected than ever before. We can talk to someone halfway across the world in an instant, share our thoughts on a platform with millions, and yet loneliness is at an all-time high. Why? Why is it that in a world with so many ways to communicate, so many opportunities to connect, we still feel isolated? The answer lies not in the number of people around us, but in the quality of the connections we make. Loneliness is often misunderstood. We tend to think of it as simply being alone. But in truth, it's far more complex. It's not just about the physical absence of others. In fact, many people who are surrounded by others, whether in a crowded room or on a social platform, still experience the profound ache of loneliness. Being surrounded by people doesn't guarantee connection, nor does it ensure that one feels seen or heard. True loneliness arises from a sense of disconnection, the feeling that we are not understood, that we do not belong, or that we cannot find common ground with those around us. We can feel isolated even when there are others around, because the connections that matter are not about proximity, but about emotional resonance. The difference between loneliness and simply being alone is that the former stems from a lack of meaningful interactions and the absence of genuine relationships. We need people, yes, but we need people who genuinely see us, who hear us, and who connect with us on a deeper level. This is what fosters a sense of belonging. Consider this: when we look at a crowd, we see many people in close proximity to one another. There are faces, voices, and even brief interactions, but how many of those people are truly engaging with each other in a meaningful way? How many of them are sharing something beyond surface-level pleasantries? It's easy to mistake a busy environment for a connected one, but these fleeting moments don't fill the deeper void that loneliness creates. True connection goes beyond casual exchanges. It's about the exchange of emotions, ideas, and experiences that resonate with one another. One could argue that loneliness is more prevalent now than ever before. The advent of social media and digital communication has made it easier to stay in touch with people, to connect with someone across the world with the touch of a button. Yet despite the illusion of constant connection, many report feeling more isolated than ever. This is because the connections we form through screens are often shallow. They are based on curated images and quick interactions that don't reflect the true complexity of our lives. Social media, for example, allows us to broadcast our thoughts, but it doesn't provide the space for deep conversations or understanding. We can talk to hundreds of people at once, but how many of those interactions truly create a sense of belonging? How many of them provide emotional support when we need it most? When we are truly connected to others, we don't feel the need to broadcast our every thought or seek validation from external sources. Connection gives us the strength to be vulnerable, to be ourselves without fear of judgment, because we know that we are accepted and understood. This is the key difference between simply being in the company of others and experiencing true connection. Loneliness often arises from a lack of this kind of deep interaction. This sense of disconnection isn't always obvious. It can appear in subtle ways: the feeling of walking into a room full of people and still feeling invisible, the sensation of speaking and not feeling heard, or the constant checking of our phones, hoping for a message that will affirm our worth. In these moments, we're not necessarily alone in a physical sense, but we're still isolated. We crave interaction that goes beyond surface level, but we often don't know where to find it. At the core of this disconnection is the absence of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, and it is what creates the bond that alleviates loneliness. Without it, we remain in our own worlds, struggling to make sense of our emotions and experiences without anyone truly walking beside us. When empathy is absent, even the most crowded spaces can feel empty. Conversely, when empathy is present, even the simplest interaction, a shared glance, a listening ear, can bridge the gap between isolation and connection. It's also important to note that the experience of loneliness is not necessarily a reflection of our external circumstances. We might have friends, family, colleagues, and acquaintances, but if those relationships are not based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, they may not provide the connection we need. It's not enough to be surrounded by people. We need people who care, who engage, and who share our joys and our struggles. The presence of others doesn't automatically mean we are connected. Real connection requires effort, openness, and a willingness to be vulnerable with one another. When we fail to establish these deeper bonds, we risk feeling the weight of loneliness even in the presence of others. Loneliness, therefore, is not simply a byproduct of being alone. It is a byproduct of disconnection, of being unable to find the people with whom we can share our true selves. We may crave more friends, more interactions, more people in our lives, but unless those connections are meaningful, they will not cure the isolation we feel. What we truly need is a sense of belonging, the assurance that we are part of something greater than ourselves, that we are seen and valued by others in a way that transcends superficial interactions. True connection at its core is about feeling understood, accepted, and valued. And that is something we cannot achieve through proximity alone. It is built through shared experiences, open communication, and the willingness to meet others where they are, with empathy and authenticity. Without this, loneliness will persist, regardless of how many people are around us. True connection, at its core, is built on a foundation of shared experiences, empathy, and trust. It's not simply about exchanging words or spending time together. Connection isn't transactional, it's transformational. When we connect with others on a deeper level, we share parts of ourselves that we often don't show to just anyone. We reveal our vulnerabilities, our struggles, our joys, and our dreams. These exchanges go beyond surface-level conversations. They tap into what makes us human and allow us to form meaningful bonds with those around us. Shared experiences are the first building block of real connection. They provide a sense of common ground that allows us to relate to one another. When we go through something together, whether it's a challenge, a celebration, or a simple moment of reflection, we create a space where we can understand each other in ways that are impossible through words alone. These experiences form the glue that holds relationships together. They give us something to reflect on together, to laugh about, and sometimes even to grieve over. Think about the bonds you share with the people who are closest to you. Most likely they are based on experiences you've shared, whether big or small. Perhaps it's the time you went on a road trip together, or the time you supported each other through a difficult period. These shared memories become the foundation for understanding because they remind us that we've been there for each other in moments that mattered. When we share experiences, we tell the other person that we are invested in their story, that their emotions matter to us, and that we are willing to step into their world. This is how real connection starts, not through words, but through actions and shared moments that speak louder than anything we can say. Empathy is the next key element that creates true connection. Empathy goes beyond just understanding someone's feelings. It's about connecting with them on an emotional level. When we empathize with others, we do not simply acknowledge their experiences, but we actively engage with them. We put ourselves in their shoes, feel their joys and sorrows, and allow ourselves to be moved by their emotions. Empathy requires vulnerability, the willingness to not only hear someone's story, but to be emotionally present in it. It means offering a listening ear without judgment, offering support when it's needed, and showing up in a way that makes the other person feel understood and not alone. Too often we mistake sympathy for empathy. Sympathy is the act of feeling sorry for someone from a distance. It's about acknowledging that they are going through a tough time, but it doesn't necessarily involve a deeper emotional engagement. Empathy, on the other hand, is about being in the moment with the other person. It's about feeling their pain, their joy, their fear, and their hope. When we empathize, we do more than just offer comfort. We connect on a fundamental human level. Empathy is what allows us to truly understand someone's perspective and respond in a way that shows we are genuinely moved by their experience. Trust is the third pillar of true connection. Without trust, any relationship, no matter how much shared experience or empathy it may contain, will falter. Trust allows people to be vulnerable with one another without fear of judgment or betrayal. When we trust someone, we open ourselves up to them, knowing that they will handle our emotions with care and respect. Trust is what makes the bond between people strong enough to endure life's challenges, and it's what enables us to take risks in our relationships, knowing that the other person will be there to support us. Without trust, there is no real connection. It's like building a house without a solid foundation. It may stand for a while, but it won't last. When we cultivate trust, we create a safe space where we can be ourselves without fear of rejection. This is especially important in our closest relationships, where the ability to be authentic is paramount. Trust is what allows us to let our guard down and show the world who we truly are without pretending to be something we're not. It's the glue that keeps us connected, even when times are tough or when misunderstandings arise. When trust is present, we can have difficult conversations, share our deepest thoughts, and make mistakes, knowing that our relationship will endure. True connection is not just about meeting the surface level needs of others. It's about being there for them in a way that transcends convenience or obligation. It's about taking the time to understand who they are, what they need, and how we can support them. It's about actively listening, being emotionally present, and showing up when it matters most. Connection requires effort and intention. It's not something that just happens. We have to be willing to invest in the relationships that matter to us, to show up when things get tough, and to be vulnerable enough to allow others to do the same. When we form connections based on shared experiences, empathy, and trust, we create bonds that can weather any storm. These are the relationships that matter, the ones that sustain us in times of need and celebrate with us in times of joy. Connection isn't something that can be forced or manufactured. It's something that is nurtured through consistent effort, understanding, and genuine care. It's not about the quantity of interactions we have, but the depth of those interactions that makes all the difference. True connection is transformative. It changes us, shapes us, and ultimately allows us to experience the fullness of what it means to be human. When we talk about the quality of relationships, we are diving into one of the most crucial aspects of our lives. It's not about the number of people we know, the number of friendships we have, or how many people follow us on social media. Quality isn't measured by how many interactions we have, but by how deep those interactions go. In fact, having a small number of deep, meaningful relationships is far more valuable than being surrounded by countless acquaintances who don't truly know us. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that more is better, that the more people we know, the more connected we are. But this isn't the case when it comes to building fulfilling and lasting relationships. The quality of the relationships we nurture in our lives is what determines our true sense of belonging and emotional well-being. In a world where we can be in constant contact with others, where we can send a text or a message to someone at any given moment, it's easy to lose sight of the value of true connection. Digital communication has made it simpler than ever to stay in touch with people, but it has also led to a paradox. We are constantly in contact with others, yet many of our interactions remain shallow. The rise of social media in particular has created an illusion of connection. We can like, comment, share, and message countless people every day, but the reality is that these interactions often lack the emotional depth and personal engagement that real relationships require. A like on a post, a brief comment, or a quick text may indicate activity, but it doesn't reflect true emotional connection or understanding. At the end of the day, these kinds of interactions leave us feeling more distant than connected. The key to understanding the value of quality over quantity in relationships is to realize that genuine connection requires effort, time, and most importantly, vulnerability. True connection can't exist if we're only offering part of ourselves. When we open up, when we share our thoughts and emotions honestly with someone, it creates the opportunity for a deeper bond to form. But this can only happen when the people we engage with are also willing to invest in the relationship. Meaningful relationships are mutual. They require both sides to be present, to listen, to share, and to support one another. It's this reciprocal vulnerability and understanding that allows relationships to transcend superficial interactions and become something that genuinely enriches our lives. Furthermore, when we focus on the quality of our relationships, we tend to invest more in the people who truly matter to us. These are the relationships that provide emotional nourishment, support in times of need, and joy in moments of celebration. They are the relationships that withstand the test of time because they are built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. These relationships are not just convenient, they are essential. They are the relationships that give us a sense of security, that remind us we are not alone, and that affirm our sense of self. These are the people we can call in the middle of the night when we need someone to talk to, the ones we turn to when we face challenges in life, and the ones who celebrate with us when we succeed. In contrast, the relationships that are built solely on quantity, the ones that are based on convenience or fleeting interactions, often leave us feeling empty, no matter how many people are involved. These relationships are often superficial, and although they might provide short-term comfort or distraction, they don't offer the deeper satisfaction of being truly understood and accepted. A large social circle or a high number of interactions with others may give us a sense of popularity or status, but they often fail to provide the emotional depth we need to feel truly connected. It's important to recognize that investing in quality over quantity doesn't mean we should isolate ourselves or stop making new connections. We are social creatures, and building relationships with new people can be enriching. What it does mean, however, is that we should be intentional with the connections we choose to prioritize. Not every relationship needs to be deep or transformative, but the ones that matter most should be nurtured with care, attention, and authenticity. By focusing on the people who genuinely contribute to our well-being, who challenge us to grow, and who support us through life's ups and downs, we create a foundation of relationships that are truly meaningful. Quality relationships also allow us to be more vulnerable and authentic. When we surround ourselves with people who accept us for who we are, who listen to us without judgment, and who offer their support, we are free to show up as our true selves. In contrast, relationships based on superficial interactions often create a barrier between who we are and how we present ourselves. We may feel like we have to wear a mask, or conform to certain expectations in order to be accepted. But in high-quality relationships, there is no need for pretense. These are the relationships where we can express our full selves, flaws and all, and still feel valued. It's also important to note that the quality of relationships extends beyond personal friendships and into professional and community relationships as well. In a work environment, for example, building strong, authentic connections with colleagues can create a more productive and supportive atmosphere. In communities, cultivating meaningful relationships leads to greater cooperation, trust, and a sense of belonging. Whether at work, home, or in the wider world, the relationships we build are not just about filling space. They are about creating a network of individuals who truly understand us and are committed to mutual growth and support. The quality of our relationships shapes our experience of life. The people we choose to spend time with, to invest in, and to build bonds with determine how connected we feel and how supported we are. By focusing on the depth of these relationships, we enrich our lives in ways that superficial interactions simply cannot. Quality relationships provide the foundation for a fulfilling life, one where we are truly seen, understood, and valued for who we are. They allow us to navigate the challenges of life with confidence, knowing that we have people by our side who will stand with us through thick and thin. Vulnerability is the key to authentic human connection. It's something many of us shy away from because it feels risky, uncomfortable, and even scary. To be vulnerable is to expose parts of ourselves that we often try to protect or hide from the world. It's to allow others to see us as we truly are, without the filters, the facades, or the walls we build around ourselves for protection. In a world that often values strength, independence, and perfection, vulnerability is often misunderstood and even seen as a weakness. But in reality, vulnerability is one of the most powerful tools we have to forge deep and meaningful connections with others. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we take the first step in building authentic relationships. Vulnerability is what enables us to be real with others, to share our true feelings, our fears, our hopes, and our struggles. It's through vulnerability that we show others who we really are, and in turn, we invite them to do the same. Without vulnerability, relationships remain surface level, transactional, and ultimately unfulfilling. And it's easy to maintain a facade, to go through the motions, and to present a version of ourselves that we believe others will accept. But this type of relationship doesn't allow for the kind of deep, lasting connection that we all crave. Authentic connections are built on the willingness to be vulnerable. When we open ourselves up, we show that we trust others enough to share our true selves, to show our flaws, and to express our raw emotions. Vulnerability invites empathy. When we allow others to see our struggles, our pain, or our joy, it creates space for them to respond with care and understanding. It humanizes us in the eyes of others, allowing them to relate to us on a deeper level. When we expose our vulnerabilities, we give others the opportunity to empathize with us, to see that we are not perfect and that we are all in some way struggling with something. This shared understanding creates the foundation for authentic connection. However, vulnerability is not just about sharing the difficult or painful parts of ourselves. It's also about being open and honest about our desires, our dreams, and our aspirations. Vulnerability is about being willing to let others see the parts of us that are hopeful, excited, and even uncertain about the future. It's in these moments that we reveal our true potential and our humanity. When we allow others to witness our hopes and dreams, we invite them into a space where they can support and encourage us as we pursue them. This act of sharing creates a sense of mutual respect and trust as both parties feel seen and valued. The fear of vulnerability often comes from the fear of being judged or rejected. We worry that if we show our true selves, others will see our weaknesses and not accept us. This fear is what leads many of us to keep our walls up, to hide behind a carefully constructed version of ourselves that we believe is more acceptable. But the irony is that when we hide our true selves, we prevent the possibility of forming real connections. People can only connect with us to the extent that we are willing to connect with them. If we withhold parts of ourselves out of fear of rejection, we are not giving others the chance to truly know us. And in turn, we will not be able to experience the deep connection that comes from being truly seen and understood. Vulnerability also allows for growth and transformation. When we allow ourselves to be open, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new ways of relating to others. Being vulnerable means being open to learning and evolving as a person. It means embracing the discomfort that comes with stepping outside our comfort zones and taking risks in our relationships. It's in these moments of vulnerability that we discover more about ourselves and the people around us. We learn about our own strengths and weaknesses, and we discover how we can support each other in our growth. Vulnerability is the gateway to deeper learning, greater understanding, and more fulfilling relationships. Moreover, vulnerability is a two-way street. It's not just about us opening up. It's also about creating a safe space for others to do the same. When we are vulnerable with someone, we give them the permission to be vulnerable with us. This mutual vulnerability creates a bond that is built on trust and shared experience. We create a space where both people can be authentic, express their needs, and share their emotions without fear of judgment or rejection. In these relationships, both individuals feel valued and understood because they have both taken the risk of being real with each other. It's important to recognize that vulnerability does not mean oversharing or revealing every intimate detail of our lives right away. Vulnerability is about being open, honest, and authentic, but it's also about being mindful of the context and the depth of the relationship. Not every person in our lives is entitled to the same level of vulnerability. Vulnerability is about knowing when and with whom it's appropriate to share certain parts of ourselves. It's about creating boundaries that allow us to be authentic without sacrificing our sense of safety or well-being. Vulnerability is a choice. It's a choice to show up as we are without pretense or armor. It's a choice to trust others enough to let them see our true selves, flaws and all. It's a choice to be open to connection, to give others the opportunity to respond with empathy, care, and understanding. And when we make the choice to be vulnerable, we create the conditions for authentic relationships to flourish. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is the foundation of meaningful, lasting connections. It is the bridge that allows us to connect with others on a deep and human level. The ability to listen is one of the most underrated skills in building true, meaningful connections. We often talk about communication, but communication is not just about speaking. It's about listening too. Listening, when done with attention, intention, and empathy, creates an environment where individuals can truly feel heard and understood. It allows for the exchange of thoughts and feelings in a way that encourages deeper emotional connection. However, in today's world where distractions are abundant, genuine listening has become a rarity. Most of us listen with the intent to respond, not to understand, and as a result, we miss out on the opportunity to truly connect with others. Listening is far more than simply hearing words. It's about giving someone the space to express themselves fully without interruption or judgment. It's about creating an environment where the other person feels comfortable enough to share their thoughts, emotions, and experiences without the fear of being dismissed or ignored. When we listen deeply, we acknowledge the other person's perspective as valid. And in doing so, we foster a sense of respect and trust. People want to be heard not just in the literal sense, but in a way that shows they matter. When we listen with our full attention, we signal to the other person that their feelings and experiences are worthy of our time and energy. To truly listen, we need to set aside our own thoughts, judgments, and responses and give the other person the space to speak freely. And this doesn't mean we should remain silent throughout the conversation, but it does mean that we need to resist the temptation to interrupt, judge, or offer advice too quickly. Often people simply need someone to listen to them, not to fix their problems or offer solutions. That's, to me, is the main thread running through the book, that by listening without immediately trying to solve the issue at hand, we show the other person that we value their experience and that we trust their ability to navigate their own challenges. Sometimes the most powerful way to connect is not through words, but through the act of listening. Moreover, when we listen actively, we show empathy. Empathy is not just about understanding what the other person is saying, it's about feeling what they are feeling. It's about stepping into their shoes and allowing ourselves to be moved by their words. Active listening means being fully present in the moment, tuning into the emotions behind the words and responding in a way that acknowledges those emotions. It's not enough to simply hear what someone is saying. We must also hear what they are not saying, the feelings, the needs, and the vulnerabilities that lie beneath the surface. When we listen with empathy, we create a connection that goes beyond the words and reaches into the heart of the person speaking. One of the most profound aspects of listening is the way it builds trust. When we listen with intention, we demonstrate to the other person that we are invested in them and in their experience. This trust is the foundation of any strong relationship, whether personal or professional. Without trust, communication falters and connections weaken. By listening deeply and attentively, we create an environment where trust can flourish. Dan, we show the other person that we are a safe space for them to express themselves, knowing that we will not dismiss or invalidate their feeling. However, the act of listening is not always easy. In our fast-paced, distraction-filled world, it can be difficult to truly focus on what someone is saying. Our minds are often racing with thoughts, our attention divided between multiple tasks, and our device is constantly demanding our attention. In these moments, we must be intentional about tuning out distractions and being present for the person in front of us. But listening requires practice, patience, and a willingness to be present. It requires us to set aside our own agendas and to focus on the person speaking. It also requires us to be aware of our body language, tone, and facial expressions, as these nonverbal cues often convey more than words alone. When we listen with our whole selves, body, mind, and heart, we create a space where authentic connection can thrive. Listening also allows us to learn and grow. When we listen to others, we open ourselves up to new perspectives and experiences. Each person we encounter has a unique story to tell, and by listening to them, gain insight into their world. This broadens our understanding of the world around us and allows us to develop greater empathy for others. Listening gives us the opportunity to learn from people who may have different backgrounds, experiences, and viewpoints. It challenges our assumptions and encourages us to see things from a different angle. In this way, listening becomes a tool for personal growth, helping us to become more open-minded, compassionate, and understanding individuals. In relationships, the ability to listen deeply and empathetically is essential. It strengthens the bonds we share with others and fosters a sense of mutual respect and understanding. When we listen, we demonstrate that we care about the other person's feelings, needs, and experiences. We show them that their voice matters and that they are worthy of our time and attention. In turn, the person we are listening to is more likely to listen to us in return, creating a cycle of mutual respect and connection. Listening is also an essential skill in conflict resolution. Often, when conflicts arise, people become more focused on defending their own point of view than on understanding the other person's perspective. This only escalates the situation and creates more distance between individuals. By listening actively and with empathy during conflicts, we can de-escalate tensions, find common ground, and resolve misunderstandings. Listening is not about agreeing with the other person's point of view, it's about acknowledging their feelings and showing that we understand where they are coming from. This opens the door for constructive dialogue and fosters a sense of cooperation and resolution. Empathy is the cornerstone of human connection. It is the ability to put ourselves in another person's shoes, to truly understand their feelings, experiences, and perspectives. Empathy allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, transcending surface-level interactions and forming bonds built on genuine understanding. In a world that can often feel isolating and divisive, empathy is the antidote to loneliness, fostering a sense of shared humanity and mutual respect. It is not just about sympathizing with someone's struggles, but about connecting with their emotional state in a way that affirms their feelings and experiences. When we empathize with others, we create space for vulnerability, understanding, and support. Empathy involves actively listening and being present in the moment, tuning into not just the words being spoken, but also the emotions behind them. It requires us to quiet our own thoughts, set aside our judgments, and fully engage with what the other person is saying. True empathy is not about offering solutions or advice, but about acknowledging the other person's feelings and providing them with the emotional validation they need. When we respond with empathy, we show that we are not just hearing them, but that we are deeply attuned to their emotional state and that we care about what they are going through. One of the most powerful aspects of empathy is that it breaks down the barriers that separate us from others. It helps us see beyond our differences, whether they are cultural, social, or personal, and recognize the shared humanity we all possess. When we empathize with someone, we are able to relate to their emotions and experiences, regardless of our own background or circumstances. It enables us to recognize that, despite our differences, we all experience joy, pain, love, and fear. This recognition creates a deep sense of connection and solidarity, allowing us to build relationships that are grounded in respect, trust, and understanding. However, empathy is not always easy. It can be challenging to truly connect with someone else's emotions, especially if their experiences are vastly different from our own. There may be moments when we don't fully understand what the other person is going through, or when we feel uncomfortable with their emotions. In these moments, it is crucial to resist the urge to dismiss or minimize their feelings. Instead, we must be willing to sit with their discomfort, to hold space for their emotions, and to offer our presence as a source of support. This can be difficult, especially if we are not used to being emotionally vulnerable ourselves. But when we practice empathy, we learn to embrace discomfort and uncertainty, recognizing that it is through these moments of emotional connection that we truly grow and deepen our relationships. Empathy also requires us to be non-judgmental. It is easy to fall into the trap of offering solutions or advice when someone shares their struggles. But often what people need most is simply to be heard. They need to feel that their feelings are valid and that their experiences are worthy of acknowledgement. Empathy is about creating a space where the other person feels safe to express themselves without fear of being judged or criticized. It is about resisting the temptation to fix their problems and instead offering the gift of understanding and support. When we listen without judgment, we create an environment where the other person can be their authentic self, free from the pressure to conform to societal expectations or norms. In relationships, empathy builds trust and intimacy. When we demonstrate empathy, we show others that we are attuned to their emotional needs and that we care about their well-being. This creates a foundation of trust that allows the relationship to flourish. Empathy also deepens the emotional connection between individuals, creating a sense of closeness and mutual understanding. In romantic relationships, for example, empathy is essential for navigating conflict and maintaining emotional intimacy. When both partners are able to empathize with each other's feelings, they can work together to resolve misunderstandings and strengthen their bond. In friendships, empathy allows us to be there for each other in times of joy and sorrow, supporting each other through life's ups and downs. In family relationships, empathy helps us navigate complex dynamics and fosters a sense of unity and shared understanding. Empathy is also vital in professional relationships. In the workplace, empathy helps build collaboration, trust, and respect among colleagues. When we empathize with our coworkers, we are better able to understand their perspectives, appreciate their contributions, and work together to achieve common goals. Empathy allows us to see beyond our own interests and consider the needs and concerns of others. This leads to more effective communication, greater teamwork, and a more supportive work environment. In leadership, empathy is particularly important. A leader who demonstrates empathy is able to build trust with their team, inspire loyalty, and create a culture of mutual respect. Empathy leadership also helps to address conflicts, provide support to employees, and foster a positive work environment where everyone feels valued. Empathy is not just a passive response, it is an active and intentional practice. It requires us to be fully present, to listen deeply, and to offer our understanding and support without expecting anything in return. It is a powerful tool for creating connection, fostering trust, and building meaningful relationships. When we practice empathy, we create a ripple effect that spreads outwards, influencing the people we interact with and the world we live in. Through empathy, we can bridge divides, heal wounds, and build a more compassionate, connected world. But it's not just about finding the right people. The cure for loneliness starts with us. We have to be willing to open up. We have to be willing to be vulnerable, to let others in, and to be authentic in our relationships. Because when we take the first step, when we show up as our true selves, we invite others to do the same. And here's the thing, we're not alone in feeling lonely. Everyone at some point feels disconnected. We are all navigating this human experience together. When we recognize that, when we understand that loneliness is a universal challenge, we can start to build communities of empathy. We can start to show up for each other in ways that make a real difference. The cure for loneliness isn't a quick fix. It's not about just getting through the day. It's about building a life with purpose, with relationships that matter, and with the understanding that we are all in this together. It's about moving from isolation to connection, from individualism to community. So let's start with ourselves. Let's reach out, let's create spaces where people can truly belong, and let's remember that the antidote to loneliness isn't in being surrounded by others, it's in the quality of the relationships we choose to build. Thank you.